Hello all and welcome back. In the last video we learned how to tweak the margins. We also interacted with the header and footer, not to mention the print area, how to set and reset it. We also learned how to repeat certain rows over pages. In this video we will talk about page breaks, whether it is horizontal page break or vertical page breaks. Also, we will learn how to print a document, not to mention how to interact with the different kind of printers. That's a very important part of printing. So we will go into every parameter of printing. Let's get to it. Before we cover the next setting, which is the print section, what we will do first is we will convert this table to a normal range. We will remove the colors, the grid lines, so that you can see the different settings very clearly. So let's click on table design, then let's click on convert to range, and then we'll click on yes. Okay, let's change the entire font to black, and what we will do is we will remove all the colors, no borders, which is here, and we will also remove the grid lines. Perfect. So this is how our data now looks like. So let's go to page layout, and then let's go to the sheet. This is the print section that we will work with now. The first property that we will tweak is grid lines. If checked, this ensures that grid lines are printed on the page. You can use the pageSetup.PrintGridLines property to set this. If I check this manually and if I click on print preview, you will notice that there are grid lines in your data, even though we don't have any grid lines on the worksheet. See, it's plain. Let's go back again. Right, the second property is black and white. If this is checked, then the elements of the document will be printed in black and white. You can use the pageSetup.black and white property to set this. We will visit all these properties in the code shortly. This property is draft quality. This property can be set using pageSetup.draft property. If set to true, the sheet will be printed without graphics. This is very useful when you want to save printer cartridge ink. The fourth one is row and column headings. This property can be set using pageSetup.printHeadings property. If set to true, row and column headings are printed with this page. So if I check this and if I click on print preview, you will notice the row and column headings. Let's go back to page setup. Let me uncheck these two. Now this is comments and notes. You can set this using the pageSetup.printComments property. This returns or sets the way comments are printed with the sheet. There are three constants that you can use to set this property. The first one is Excel print in place. The comments will be printed where they were inserted on the worksheet. Excel print no comments. The comments will not be printed. The third one is Excel print sheet end. The comments will be printed as end notes at the end of the worksheet. We will see how to set them shortly. The last one is cell errors as. You can tweak this using the pageSetup.printErrors property. Setting this specifies the type of print error displayed. This feature allows user to suppress the display of error values when printing a worksheet. You can use 4 Excel print errors constants to set this property. They are Excel print errors blank. The print errors are blank. Excel print errors dash. Print errors are displayed as dashes. Excel print error displayed. All print errors are displayed. Excel print errors NA. Print errors are displayed as not available. Below the print section, we have the page order section. You can tweak this using the pageSetup.order property. Here we can set the order in which Excel prints the pages. This is the order that Microsoft Excel uses to number pages when printing a large worksheet. You can use two settings, Excel down then over which processes down the rows before processing across pages or page fields to the right. Excel over then down. Process across pages or page fields to the right before moving down the rows. So what we will do now is we will test all of these from VBA. But before we do that, what we'll do is we will add a comment and we will also add an error manually. So let's select this cell and I will type equal to 0 divided by 0. This will give us a hash div error. And right here, I will insert a comment which will say this is a sample comment. Okay, so comment is here, error is here. The reason why I'm doing this is I'm going to tweak this particular properties. Let me uncheck this. So I'll be tweaking the comments and notes and cell error as using these two cells. Okay, so I'm going to press OK. Let's go to the fifth module. And let's go to the last procedure, which is set print options. Here I've typed all the properties beforehand. The first property, print grid lines, I've set it to true. This will ensure that the grid lines are printed on the page. I've set the second property, black and white, as true. This will ensure that the document will be printed in black and white. I'm going to set it as false because if I keep this as true, then you will not see the other changes in the print preview. The next property is the draft quality. I have set it to true. This will ensure that the document will be printed without any graphics. Obviously, we do not have any graphics at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this as false as well. The next one is print headings. I've set it to true. This will ensure that the row and column headings are printed with the page. Here I have set the print comments as Excel print sheet end. This will ensure that the comments will be printed as end notes at the end of the worksheet. And here I'm setting the print errors as Excel print errors blank. This will ensure that the cells which have errors will be shown as blank. And here I'm setting the order as Excel down then over. So what VBA will do is it will first go down to the rows of the worksheet and then move over to the right. If you wish, you can also set it as Excel over then down. That ways VBA will first go across the columns and then move across the rows. Here I'm invoking the print preview. So let's go ahead and let's run this. And there you go. We can see the grid lines. We can see the column headings. Now let's scroll to the last page. And here I have the comments as end notes. And it is mentioning which cell has the notes, which is C6. So if I close this, if I go to the worksheet, this is C6, which has the comments. The next thing that we will cover is adding page breaks. Page breaks are dividers that break a worksheet into separate pages for printing. By default, Excel inserts the page break based on margin settings, scale options, paper size, manual page breaks, etc. Every time you plan to print a spreadsheet, you should always check the page breaks first and if required, set it accordingly. By default, you will not see the page break. So if you open a new workbook, let's press Ctrl N to open a new workbook. So you will notice that there are no page breaks here. If you want to see the page breaks, you can either invoke the print preview like we did in the previous workbook. We did print preview and hence we saw these page breaks. But in a new workbook, if you want to see the page breaks, you will have to invoke the print preview, or you can set it to show by default by clicking on the file menu and then clicking on options, then clicking on advanced. And in the section display option for this worksheet, which is right here, check on the box show page breaks and then click on OK. Now your worksheets will always show these page breaks. Page breaks can either be automatic or manual. Manual page breaks are the ones inserted by the user. Visually, you can differentiate them by seeing whether it is a solid line or a dashed line. For example, this is a dashed line. Now let me quickly insert a manual page break. So we'll go to the page layout tab. Let's select a cell here and then I'll click on insert page break. See, this is a solid line. So this is the difference. Manual page breaks have solid line and automatic ones have dash line. One more important thing before we get into the VBA part. If you directly insert a page break, depending on the cell that you select, Excel will insert both horizontal and vertical page breaks, as you can see here. However, if you want to insert only a horizontal page break, then select the row where you want to insert the page break and then click on insert page break. So let's do one thing. Let's remove these page breaks and now let's select a row and then click on breaks, insert page break. And you will notice that this time only a horizontal page break is inserted. Similarly, you can insert a vertical page break. So if I select column E and I click on insert page break, I will see a vertical page break. Working with page breaks is very easy if you understand the basics of it. You can easily move, delete or reset the page breaks. Now let's see how we can do all of this using VBA. Let's close this. We do not need this workbook. We will insert the page breaks on this worksheet, which is titles column demo data. So let's go to the 6th module. Here I've declared my worksheet variable and I have set it to sheet 3, which is the titles column demo data. Here I'm inserting a horizontal page break at row 15. And here I'm inserting a vertical page break at column E. Let's go ahead and let's run this. If we go to the worksheet, we can see that the page breaks have been inserted. One thing I would like to mention that is if you were expecting the page breaks to appear after row 15 and column E, then always select the row or column after that. For example, in the code, change 15 to 16. And change column E to column F. In short, the horizontal page breaks is set at the top edge of the range and the vertical page break is set on the left edge of the range. To remove a page break, simply replace Excel page break manual with Excel page break none. So if I go back to the code and if I change this to none, similarly with the other one as well, and if I run this, let's go back, you will notice that both the page breaks are gone. To reset all the page breaks in a worksheet, you can use reset all page breaks property. So let's go back to the code. I'm going to change this to manual. I'm going to insert the page breaks first and then I'll use reset all page breaks to remove it. So if I run this, if I go back, I get my page breaks. Right, now I'm going to comment this and I'm going to uncomment this line. When I run this, all the page breaks will be reset. See, all the page breaks are gone. So we learned so many things in the page setup. We tweaked so many properties. Now it's time to finally learn how to print our worksheet from VBA. Before we do that, let's delete this comment and let's get our value back. Before we go ahead, let's convert this to a table. So let's click on Insert, Table. Let's convert it to black and white. Let's set the font as white. Okay, let's remove the filters. Let me quickly check. Yeah, all the data looks fine. And let me also quickly check the code. Everything is commented. Let's also get our grid lines back. Perfect. And we are now set. To issue the print command, we can use the sheets.printout method. The syntax is expression.printout. From, to, copies, preview, active printer, PRINTOFILE, COLLATE, PRTOFILENAME, IGNOREPRINTAREAS. The expression is a variable that represents a sheets object. And here I have mentioned the parameters and what are these parameters for. If you wish to understand what these parameters do, then feel free to pause the video and read through them. Let's go to the 7th module. Here I have declared my worksheet variable and I am setting it to sheet 1 as I have done previously. And here I have issued the simple print command. When I run this code, this will print all pages in the active sheet. Let's revisit the syntax for a moment. These all parameters are optional. So if you want, you can specify the values for these parameters. Currently, there is only one page in the active sheet. If we do a print preview of this page, what I'm going to do is I'm going to comment this for a moment and I'm going to type print preview. If you run this, you will notice there is only one page. If there were, let's say, 5 pages and you wanted to print only the first 2 pages, then you can do that by specifying the from and to parameters. So now if I go back, if I comment this and I type ws.printout from is equal to 1, comma 2 is equal to 2. This will ensure that only the first and the second page is printed. If you wanted to print the first 3 pages, then change this to 3. Now, if you wanted to print, let's say 5 copies of this worksheet, then you can use the copies parameter. In such a scenario, just add copies to it and type 5. This will print 5 copies from pages 1 to 2. The fourth parameter is preview. By default, when you print, Excel doesn't show you the preview. It directly prints it. You can use this parameter to force the print preview. So if you use preview is equal to true, then VBA will show you a print preview and then you can decide whether to print or not. So if I run this, you'll be shown a print preview. Here you have multiple options. You can do page setup, you can check next pages, show margins, zoom, you can print, or you can simply close the print preview to cancel the printing. The fifth parameter is active printer. Here you can set the printer. To understand this, let's do an exercise. Press the Windows shortcut key Win+I. This will open the settings window. Next, in the search type printers. Either you can select printers and scanners or you can directly press the enter key. Go to printers and scanners. Disable the let Windows manage my default printer. The reason why I'm asking you to disable it is because I want you to manually change the default device later on. Now in my laptop, I have these printers. The default is Canon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the Canon printer as default, but from VBA, I will try and print to the PDF printer. Once you understand how this works, you can then test it with different printers. Now, before I go ahead and I tweak the printer via VBA and I print to Microsoft Print to PDF, I'm going to share something interesting with you. Let's change the default printer to Microsoft Print to PDF. You can do it from here, or you can also go to File, Print, and then you can change the default printer here. Okay, let's go back to the code. Now, in the immediate window, if you don't see this window, then press Ctrl G. Type application.activePrinter. Now, this property, it returns or sets the name of the active printer. It's a read-write property. Let's go ahead and press the enter key. So we see that the active printer is Microsoft Print to PDF on NE01. We will be using this in a short while. Now let's go back and change the active printer to Canon. Instead of doing it from Windows, what I'll do is I will change the active printer here. Okay, and in fact, let's do one thing. I'm going to change it there as well. Okay, now let's go back to the code. Now, if I go ahead and if I run this line again, I get Canon E470 series on NE03. Now coming back to the fifth parameter, which is active printer. So I'm going to press comma and I'm going to type active printer. When you set this via code, then the Windows default printer is not changed, but the printer for Excel application is changed. Let's test this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this line from here and I'm going to paste it here. and I'm going to delete the rest of the stuff. I do not want to see a preview. So let's go ahead and let's run this. The moment I do that, instead of printing to the Canon printer, which is the default printer, it changed the printer to PDF, and then it popped up this dialog box where it is asking me to save it as a PDF. So remember, you can use the active printer parameter to set the name of the active printer for the Excel application. Like I said, this doesn't change the Windows default printer. Let's cancel this for a moment and let's click on end. And now if I go back to the settings window, you will see that the default printer is still Canon. But now if I go back here, first of all, let me delete this. Now, can you tell me if I press the enter key, what will it show here? Will it show Canon as the default printer or PDF as the default printer? Remember, in Windows, the default printer is Canon right now. The answer is Microsoft Print to PDF. Let's check it out. See? So let me quickly summarize it again. Application.ActivePrinter sets the name of the active printer for the Excel application, and it doesn't change the Windows default printer. In fact, I have a sample code in the module working with printer. Let's go to this for a moment. This code displays the name of the Windows default printer and the Excel application's default printer. It uses the API get profile string. Don't get too much into the code. This code is slightly advanced, and I will explain this later on when we are talking about APIs. So let's quickly run this. And you'll notice that Excel prompts us that the Windows default printer is Canon and Excel's default printer is Microsoft Print to PDF on port NE01. Okay, let's get back to the previous module. We will now work with the sixth parameter, which is print to file. You can use this parameter to print the data to a PDF file. Set the print to file is equal to true. So if I press the comma, the next parameter is print to file. Let's set it to true. When you use this parameter, then you need to use one more parameter, which is PRTOFILENAME. As I mentioned earlier when I was explaining about the different parameters of the print command and the explanation, if you do not specify this, then Excel will prompt you for the name. Let's try and print to a file called sample.pdf, which will be saved on the desktop. So what I will do is I will type PRTOFILENAME is equal to C drive users route s desktop / sample.pdf. Let's run this. And the Excel has directly printed and saved the file as a PDF on the desktop. So if you go to the desktop, you will notice that the sample file has been created. Double click on it and you will see that the data has been saved as a PDF. Let's go back. Now let's do one thing. I'm going to remove this parameter. So I've commented this, so this is no longer a part of this. Now when you run this, see what happens. Excel prompts you for the file name. Let's cancel this. So remember, if you do not specify PRTOFILENAME, then Excel will prompt you for the name. Let me use the line continuation character so that this line can be moved on to the next line. Moving on to the next parameter, which is collate. This property collates multiple copies. This parameter is usually useful when you are printing multiple copies. When this parameter is set to true, Excel automatically organizes the printed sheets into sets. Let's understand it this way. Let's say your file has 5 pages and you're trying to print 3 copies. When collate is false and when you try to print it, Excel will print it in sequence. It will print all the pages in one go and then it will move on to print the second copy. But when collate is true, then it will print 3 copies of the first page and 3 copies of the second page and so on. We can't test this at the moment, but if you have a printer, then feel free to test it. So the coding becomes comma, line continuation character, collate is equal to true. The last parameter is ignore print areas. So if I type comma, you will see that the last parameter is ignore print areas. As I mentioned earlier, in a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet, the print area is a designated part of the spreadsheet to be printed. When you set this parameter to true, VBA will ignore the print areas and print the entire object. If you remember, we learned how to set the print areas. So if you have set the print areas and if you set this property as true, then VBA will ignore those print areas and it will print the entire object. And if you set it as false, then Excel will only print the data in the print area. Whatever the print area is, whether you have set it or Excel has set it, the data in that print area will be printed. Again, feel free to test this parameter. In fact, you can test all the parameters, whether it is from, to, copies, preview, active printer, etc. And if you face any problems, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. Time for a quick recap. In this video, we worked with different aspects of page setup. We also learned how to insert page breaks, whether it is horizontal page break or vertical page break. We also learned how to finally print our document. We also learned how to change the active printer and different other parameters of the printing. So I hope this video was easy to understand, but if you still have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. Or as usual, you can always email me on support@teamexcel.com. I also have a Facebook page. The link is in the description below. Feel free to join that. And if you have any questions, please post it there. I'll be more than happy to answer your queries. If you like the kind of content that I'm putting up on this channel, and if you would like to extend support, then go ahead and watch a couple of videos, drop a couple of likes. And if you're really serious about learning Visual Basic Programming from scratch, then go ahead and watch the playlist, because that is where I have arranged the videos in a specific sequence. So go ahead, watch those videos, drop a couple of likes there as well. And if you still have not subscribed to this channel, then go ahead and subscribe to this channel by clicking on the bell icon. And I'll see you soon with my next topic.